question right there is some mentors that you've come across, whether they were players, friends, teammates, and coaches throughout your playing days, but even your coaching days. Can you share any of those names or some stories of things that you've looked up to?
Well, I think you talk about, not wanting to win pucks and not battling. I think when a coach believes in you and gives you that confidence, you kind of want to do that for him. I left to play junior when I was 16, and I played for a coach that didn't really believe in me or what I was doing, and it just sort of wasted 2 years of hockey not really doing anything. And I told this story the other day to a kid that and a family where they're nervous about the kid leaving home and leaving his comfort zone and everything he's known. And I found out that I was traded to Prince George from Powell River, and I was devastated. I didn't want to leave the island. I know Powell River's not on the island, but I didn't want to leave that division. I didn't want to leave the comforts of being close to home. As far as I knew, Prince George was, the Arctic, and I didn't know much about it, and but I certainly didn't want to go there. And I called them and said, I don't want to go there. Like, I appreciate you wanting me. And they said, well, yeah, went back and forth, and I dragged my feet, and they were never pushy or anything. They understood where I was coming from, and they said, why don't you come give it a chance? So we give it a week. If you don't like it, then we'll move you. And to this day, like, Prince George is my favorite place I've ever played. I played for the late Dale Marquette, who coached the Cougars and stuff, and unfortunately passed away quite young. And he just instilled all this confidence from me. And, a year later, I was a first team All-Star and going to the NCAA. And it's not so much that he was a mentor, it's just that he just believed in me. And it just, I went from playing out my junior years to going somewhere where, with all the confidence in the world. And it was the same thing at university. We had two different coaches, and my senior year, we brought in Walt Kyle, who had come straight from the NHL. And same thing. Here's a guy that just believes in you, puts all the trust in the world in you. And I find myself wanting to play harder for him. And that never ends, and it was the same my first year pro. And I had Marty McSorley in Springfield, and a guy that just loved me. And for whatever reason, I wasn't a fighter, wasn't tough, but he just loved me. And, I wanted to play hard for him. And then, the following year, I get a coach that doesn't believe in me. And I found myself getting depressed and things like that. So it's, don't be afraid to leave your comfort zone, whether it's moving towns or whatever, because if as soon as you find someone that believes in you and gives you that trust, then you can reach your full potential and everything like that. So I don't know if that's a mentor as more as a confidence.
Yeah, no, that's a great, character building. But yeah, like you said, you mentioned McSorley and these other coaches that believed in you, Walt Kyle. Yeah, that's huge. And especially at that age, we are raised where we're from in our hometowns, minor hockeys, and we have all the same buddies that you usually somewhat play with every second year or every year. And then from there, you kind of all get split up after training with each other for, I don't know, anywhere from say 5 years to 8 years of minor hockey. And some players are nervous and some players don't want to take that next step because of how fun and great it was. They just want to stay in that situation. But same kind of thing. Like when you moved away from home, how old were you about?
I was 16. I was entering my old year. So
right.
At that time, and we talked about this briefly before we got on here, there was no midget. There was a midget league, but it's not what it is today. Yeah. It started when you were older, and just like you didn't, you felt you had to go somewhere else to be a player. Looking back, I should have stayed and played a year of midget. But at 16, when you make a junior A team, it's pretty hard to tell a kid
Yeah.
not to, that's best for them. But that was a really tough 3-4 months to get to the Christmas break, being homesick. But
Yeah.
2 weeks at home at Christmas, and I was ready to go back. And like, I love my family to death, but it just, and you grow so much being away from home, and you're forced to. And it's hard, but it's part of what we sign up for, being hockey players and chasing that dream.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're doing an even better job in today's game, but each team, a lot more team building activities, and a lot more kids seem to be buddies and know each other, possibly from the social media interaction. They all know each other from watching highlights and skill moves and all that stuff. But back then, even when I had moved away I was 16, but that was my 17-year-old season. I was homesick for a good couple months, and that's a hard step to get over. One is because I was in school in another place, wasn't playing very much at all, like 5 minutes a game on the fourth line, and just wasn't feeling important or needed, I guess. But that was a big part in, I guess, the hockey career that we all have to go through. We don't always play 20 minutes a game, 25 minutes a game, and not always are we the guys to get that point per game. So it's important that players learn how to become a third, fourth liner, a depth player on a team, and how to find their way in the lineup sometimes, because you're going to face that maybe even bantam, midget, junior, and definitely above college and pro. You're going to have to grind your way. The whole hockey journey, I feel, is a big grind and a lot of commitment, work ethic, and all that. Yeah, and these days about midget hockey, it provides you that stepping stone to junior A hockey. But I'm sure even you guys send guys to the WHL, to major junior. So I think it's important that players, parents, and coaches realize that, that's the step that they must take. And it's not just playing 1 year, sometimes just you have to do well. And sometimes dominating a league can really help you for that next step, because you go in it with that confidence and you shorten the gap between players depending on what level you go to next. Do you have anything to add on that stuff?
No, but what you first talked about, third and fourth line, and every time you move up a step, you're now at the bottom of the totem pole. And if that starts happening to you in bantam and midget, you build up that scar tissue, that adversity, and it makes it easier as you move up every league. Unless you're Connor McDavid and going to be the best player at every league, 99.98% of players have played on the fourth line and on one team or another.
Yeah.
And you learn as you go up. And if it's in bantam or midget and you're on the third line, but you have a player you're jealous of the player that's having success on the first line, that's good for you too. He's bringing scouts into the building. Your job is to show what you can do, because a lot of players are discovered when a scout is there to watch somebody else. And don't be discouraged by playing on the fourth line, because every single player has done it. It's on you. It's not the coach's fault. It's on the player to identify what somebody else is doing that you're not doing, to be on that fourth line or to be on that first line or the power play, and to earn that time. That people may be, well, he hated me, politics this and politics that. If something that no one can take away from you is your work ethic and your attitude. And if you work hard and keep a positive one, you'll find yourself working your way up the lineup and working yourself up leagues.
Yeah, I think a big important part of player development right there, when we talk about third, fourth lines, that a huge percentage of players that usually start there You have to understand and learn the process of that. You have to learn what it's like to sit there in the middle of the bench and just watch your teammates play, and be a positive teammate, just sitting there grocery sticking or whatever. And I think it's so important because also too, right, is you kind of got two choices to make from there. You continue to sit there and not really do anything about it or not care, or you take what's in front of you, do extra, work hard, and try to work your way up through the lineup, as we talked about third, second, first line. Funny that you say that. Actually, haven't talked about this before, but watching Team Canada World Juniors back in probably 2015, and it was in Sweden and close to where I was playing in Malmo, and Connor McDavid was on the team as a 16-year-old, I think, or maybe he was 15, but he was wearing a cage. But I believe he was on the third or fourth line on that team. He didn't play very much. I was excited to watch because I had heard about him and all that. And he did really well when he was on the ice. They're playing against Team USA, so it was a big game. And pretty sure, yeah, he just wasn't playing too many minutes. That was his first year in the World Juniors. I think he played 2 years, maybe even 3. I can't remember when he went to the NHL, but given on that, he still played that depth role. I'm sure he got a little bit of power play time. They're developing him for those next steps, but he didn't play very much, and assuming that he was on those probably third or fourth line that year.